one thing to have these electronic gadgets, fantastic gadgets that we have. It's the other to secure these critical, important records. And that's one important thing that we have to understand as professionals. Now, the discussion, the panel discussion is more on the practical side because we are going to be talking about data leaks, data breaches. And the topic is one that is very, very interesting because we are talking about your patient's record have been hacked. Now what? Very practical. Tell me who has been hacked before. I know some of us don't want to hide this information. Please don't hide. Just raise up your hand. Just be honest. Thank you very much. Now, you health professionals, welcome to this digital revolution. These threats are real. They are real. And one FBI director said that there are two types of organizations. One that has been hacked, and the other that is yet to be hacked. Two types of organizations. So sooner or later, you are going to face this problem. And for many, my experience over the years is that, when you get to these C-level, senior management levels, people don't take cybersecurity very seriously. They relegate it to IT people. But believe you, whether you like IT or not, you have to embrace cybersecurity because you have to protect those health records, critical, very, very important records. And therefore, one has to also be proactive in terms of approach to make sure that the data is protected. Because losing data or having the data hacked is a huge risk. One that can cause reputational damage to your organization, financial loss, or loss of productivity. So it's very, very critical to actually protect the data. So this topic, your patient's record has been hacked. Now what? There are two sides to it, which we are going to debate here. One organization is structured in terms of having the plans to recover from the hacking, ransom hacking, call it that way, and the other is very unstructured. So our debate is going to be both, because some of us don't have plans of recovery after we have been hacked, either by ransomware, either by WannaCry or Petya and all these type of things. So it's very critical. Let's debate this thing, and I also would like you to come at a later stage for question and answer, and also your experience if you have been hacked. What is it that you did after the hacking, and all this type of thing. So in the meantime, I would like to introduce my panel, and I would like to give them about 60 seconds to introduce yourself so that people get to know what you do in terms of how you come into cybersecurity space, things of that nature. Now, I'll start with you, Nicholas. Maybe you can introduce yourself, then you can go to Mike, and then John.
Yeah, thank you very much. So I'm Nicolas Garcia, Regional Director of Sales for OT Morpho in Sub-Saharan Africa. I've basically started in 2001 with the French Embassy as the IT manager. So I've got a networking background. And I started to work in biometrics from 2004. So it's been now a few years.
Indeed.
So, so that's basically who I am and what I'm doing.
Thank you very much. Now, let's get to Mike.
Thanks, Lon. Mike Morris. I'm from Manico Records Management Services. We assist customers to make that transition from the paper record to the digital platform. Most of my career has been spent dealing with physical records. And more recently, we've moved into the software development to assist, especially in this field, assist the healthcare industry in reducing the amount of paper that is generated within facilities, patient enrollment, those kind of things. But from my experience, a lot of physical records management has been taken on.
Let's get to John. Thank you very much, Mike.
So my name's John McGrath. Can you hear me? Yes. Yeah. Awesome. So I'm at J2 Software. We're a cybersecurity business, and we launched in 2006. We provide practical and real solutions for clients. I don't like to use the word solutions too often because people start dozing off when you do. But essentially, we give practical ways for you to secure your information by providing visibility. And on your initial thing, I've got a slightly different take on it. And from what we've seen, I say there's two types of businesses. Those that have been breached and those who don't know they've been breached. It comes down to that. And breaches aren't necessarily something you need to look at like someone has come in. It could be data loss. It could be someone putting records into unsecured environments or onto USB sticks and getting those out in the wild. So we're major advocates for visibility to reduce risk.
Indeed, I think your comment is very true in the sense that in cybersecurity language, we've got what are called DDoS attacks. And so often, because we are not technologically inclined, one could not know whether one has been hacked or not. So it is very right. But from my space, I am Lloyd Kumbemba. I'm the CEO of BitCrack Cybersecurity. And basically, we have disrupted the industry in this way. Of course, our core products are vulnerability and penetration testing, and obviously the training aspect. And also we offer CERT, which is cybersecurity incident response teams, so to speak. But we have disrupted cybersecurity in this way that, as Akis mentioned initially, we've got this aspect of reaction. You know, one has to be hacked first, okay? And then after being hacked, we pick up the pieces and we do all these forensic services. How did the hacking happen? How did the hacker came into the network and so to speak? But we have reinvented, not reinvented, but we have innovated and modified and disrupted the industry by actually detecting a hacker who is in the process of hacking a system. We are using deceptive technologies to deceive a hacker on a local area network by thinking that the system that is hacking is a real one, when in fact it's a cloned one, which is not the real system. And by so doing, we catch the person live and online, so to speak. So we have done this through threat intelligence solution that we have developed, and we are also into training. We realize that a lot of companies do not understand what cybersecurity is about. So we have gone in this big time in order to help as many people in this organization as possible to understand this future threat, because this threat is real, and as such, it is the one that can inhibit development towards healthy solutions and technologies, so to speak. However, now let's get down to this important discussion. Gentlemen, your patient's record has been hacked. Okay. Now what? That's the fundamental question that we need to dig into. And I can understand that the public, some of the people on the floor have actually experienced this sort of thing, but we are going to engage with them at a later stage. But let me start with you, Mike. What is your comment? What is your take?
Lloyd, as I said, in my world, we're looking at physical records most of the time. And make no mistake, a physical record can be hacked. If you look at, in the old days, you take a James Bond scenario where the guy steals a file from some vault, takes pictures of the file. That is hacking in the old sense of the word. The question is, what now? I think in my opinion, you can only put so much in place to prevent these kind of breaches. In the physical world, it's access control. I'm sure Nicholas will talk about the fact that you can use biometrics now to prevent people getting access to this information. We can track and trace, knowing that it's me. It's moved from me to John, as an example. But I think it goes back to when you start this journey that you have to have a plan in place, as much security as you possibly can to prevent this. But history has told us that these acts do occur. And what now? I suppose one has to look at the after event. As John said, there's people that don't know they've been hacked. And if you're sitting in that scenario, what do you do?
Absolutely. So we're looking at the physical record. Now, let me ask you, John, because you are in the cybersecurity assessment space, which is maybe logical record rather than physical record. What's your take on this sort of thing in a situation like this, where one is hacked, there's data leakage, and data has been breached? What is the next step? What's going to happen?
So essentially, as I was saying, do people actually know they've been hacked? Do they know they've been breached? And if so, what is their plan thereafter? What kind of a breach is also quite important. Is it something where someone's come and they've stolen data and the records are lost? And obviously in South Africa at the time, we don't have to disclose these breaches until Poppy, whatever you want to call it, comes into full effect. So do you know you've been hacked and what kind of a breach it was, and how can you make sure that you recover from it? So is it a hack that was stolen, or is it a ransomware type attack, and now you need to go to plan B, bring on your disaster recovery plan, fire over, restore data, etc. We've seen in recent times where large organizations are down for days because of ransomware attacks. And often there'll be excuses like, oh no, it was a power failure. A power failure, or you just lost all your records. Let's not beat around the bush here. We've seen logistics organizations who cannot deliver packages because they're down. Shipping companies the other day, they're doing that. It's happening in every single industry. Obviously the NHS in the UK. We are seeing it on a daily basis. We know that these breaches are happening. Everyone just likes to keep it quiet though, because they don't want anyone else to know.
Indeed. I think the other thing, you health professionals out there, we ICT people are very smart, you see. Very, very smart. And sometimes the system has been hacked by ransomware. In fact, most of you don't understand what a ransomware is. Ransomware is a sort of a virus that actually can cripple your system, the whole server. It actually encrypts. It uses cryptographic methodologies to encrypt your data so much so that you are able not to retrieve it until you pay a certain amount of bitcoins over the internet to have it decrypted, so to speak. So sometimes, as John has mentioned, we will tell you that, well, the power was down when it wasn't down, when we don't have disaster recovery plans. So be very careful. Sometimes we actually can use our jargon to be able to. But the point that John has mentioned is quite critical, because the point which I'm trying to need to address is, do we have a disaster recovery plan? Because these data breaches and ransomware attack are very serious. They can cost you your data, so to speak. And those are the type of things. Do you have a backup? Do you have plan B, as John has mentioned? So these are very, very critical questions that you need to ask. Go back to your offices, go back to where you are, and ask some of these questions. It's not about just the disaster recovery plan, but it's also what is called a BCP, which is Business Recovery Plan, to recover business, to be able to sustain your business going forward after such a recovery. So these are some of the key things that one has to look at. Now let's go to another question that is very, very interesting as well. Now I'll focus that to Nicholas. Nicholas, tell us about you've got these health technologies within your institutions, so to speak. How should one maintain these health technologies going forward? What are the parameters for this healthcare technologies that one should look at?
Sure. So I think this is also part somehow of the first question. It's complementary to the first question. When it comes to biometrics and what it can bring to the solution, it's very simple. There are two parts. The first one is obviously filtering who's got access to what, because once you've got access and you've been hacked, it's too late, right? So you need to make sure that you know who's coming in. And the second part is, after that, to be able to protect or to recover or to do all those type of things. You need to be able to track who's done what. So in other words, you need to be able to build an audit trail. And you can only do that if you actually know who's done what. From there, then obviously, as it gets measured, as you can see what worked, what didn't work, you can actually work out a plan of the recovery, and most importantly, to make sure that it does not happen again.
Thank you very much. Now, John, I'll pose you a question regarding what Nicholas is talking about. Also on the aspect of systems, you've got these databases, Oracle databases and SQL databases and all this software that we have. How can one maintain a system that ensures that there is minimum space for one to hack these gadgets, these databases and software? Patching inclusive. Can you comment on that?
Well, there's a number of things at play here. Firstly, visibility is key. Visibility, that's like my mantra. If you don't know what you're looking at or what you're trying to protect, well, then you're in trouble already. The second thing is ongoing monitoring, making sure that any changes, behavioral changes in that are flagged. If something looks out of the ordinary, it probably is. And obviously then making sure that everything stays patched and up at the latest updates. And what's available now, because the Internet of Things and the whole thing of the Internet is there, the big thing we need to look at now is threat intelligence from around the world. So we have the capabilities of getting threat feeds from all over the globe. So if an attack happens in Bulgaria, you can update the threat feeds and make sure that it doesn't happen to you within your organization.
Thank you very, very much. Indeed. Then how would one then be one step ahead of these hackers? Just wonderful. How can one then be proactive in terms of being one step or 5 steps ahead? Because these hackers are also very smart prophets, and one has to be smart as well. How can one do that sort of thing?
Okay, I'd say obviously engage with specialists. We see so many organizations who will get someone in to look at the design of the layout of their reception area and spend a fortune, and then have the IT guy whose responsibility is the maintenance of the network and infrastructure in charge of security. So engage with specialists, that's the number one thing. Threats change on a daily basis. IT personnel are simply overwhelmed by the number of threats that are changing, and make sure you think like a thief. I think that's one of the other things. If how would you get in to that record, to that system, those kind of things. Security needs to be, in the modern world, everything's connected. Security has to be at the forefront of everything we think about.
I think you can say that again. And let me just talk to the audience. It's very, very critical before you acquire technology. Ensure security is number one. Ask questions, particularly respecting the type of security that these gadgets that you are having have. Otherwise, it's going to be compromised by hackers. You know, there are those people that are trying to build these smart gadgets, but there are those that are trying to destroy them, as John has mentioned quite pointedly. Thank you very, very much. And also there's this issue of being proactiveness. Don't wait until you are hacked. Act before that, because we are handling very sensitive health records and such. One has to be proactive. Use cases. Let's discuss about people that have been hacked. Let me just open to the public. There's a lady that I've seen whose hand was up in terms of what are the lessons when you were hacked. What are the issues? I've got plenty of use cases as a person who is in cybersecurity, and I'm sure John has. But maybe let me just give you a use case. We've got this huge university. I'm not going to mention his name. they've invested a lot into security infrastructure, but they did not train their personnel to actually be able to handle and be able to notice these hackers coming into their system. The infrastructure was in place, but they couldn't. And believe you me, sooner or later, a ransomware called Pecha came into their IT environment. It destroyed about 200 servers out of 5,000 servers. Can you imagine a situation where you lose that piece of information for those number of servers? So the point which I'm trying to drive at is the fact that please ensure that you have adequate security on your infrastructure. Make sure that you are proactive rather than reactive. And make sure also that you are versed and you are trained properly to be able to identify and to be able to know the weaknesses of the system.
Excellent. And I think at the end of the day, it's all about education as well, and spend more money on security as opposed to the front area of your reception area. It's amazing, the IT budgets, and security is the biggest focus. Gentlemen, thank you very much. That was really interesting. I know that you're going to be chatting in a moment or so as well, after the next speaker. So thank you. Give our panel a round of applause, please. But security is such a major issue that you need to be aware of.